let me ask you a question. Is there any situation where you think it's absolutely fine for your daughter to be shamed?
Yes.
There is?
Yeah.
What situation would that be?
Yo, I'm Rugged.
I'm Baldy.
And this is the R&B podcast.
So, R&B as in rugged and baldy, not as in the music kind of thing. Although we kind of like the...
We touch on that as well.
We will be touching on that at some point. So R&B podcast, rugged and baldy. We're going to be here every couple of week.
So hopefully we can do it weekly. And the idea is that each week, both of us bring a topic to the table and we discuss. Now, the funny thing is, you and I rarely agree on anything.
Rarely? Rarely? Rarely is a fair point. Yeah, it's. I think that there's going to be a lot of difference of opinions on this, and I think it's going to resonate with a lot of people. Well, at least I hope it will.
Exactly. So if you don't agree with me, you're definitely going to agree with Baldy because he is juxtaposed to anything I have to say and vice versa. So with that said, ladies and gentlemen, let's wait no further. Let's get into this.
All right, so what have you brought to the table, or the studio as it is? What have you brought to the studio for our first subject to discuss?
What have I brought to the studio? I love that. Okay, so this week, Baldy, I want to talk about the controversy surrounding Oprah Winfrey and her weight loss scandal. I don't know if you checked it out, but her past weight loss regimes haven't been completely transparent. Check this clip out.
There's now a conversation, an awkward conversation between Oprah Winfrey and her own fans after she's been telling them giant whoppers about her weight. Oprah's long since railed against the use of medication for weight loss. She's a poster girl of the body positivity movement, which basically argues you can celebrate being as fat as you like, while simultaneously making a cottage industry of her own yo-yoing weight. Well, recently she's been spotted looking decidedly svelte on the red carpets, and she couldn't wait to tell her many followers that she'd done it all the hard way, and they could too.
I've got to do it the hard way. I've got to keep climbing the mountains. I got to keep suffering. I got to do that because otherwise I somehow cheated myself. Even when I first started hearing about the weight loss drugs, at the same time I was going through knee surgery, and I felt I've got to do this on my own. I've got to do this on my own because if I take the drug, that's the easy way out.
Yeah, unfortunately, that was the easy way out because it wasn't true. It was all very inspiring, that rhetoric, but that wasn't what was going on. In a new confessional interview with People magazine this week, Oprah revealed she's been using the very weight loss drug she said she'd never use, most likely Ozempic.
In my lifetime, I never dreamed that we would be talking about medicines that are providing hope for people like me who have struggled for years with being overweight or with obesity. So I come to this conversation in the hope that we can start releasing the stigma and the shame and the judgment to stop shaming other people for being overweight or how they choose to lose or not lose weight. And more importantly, to stop shaming ourselves. I have to say that I took on the shame that the world gave to me. For 25 years, making fun of my weight was national sport. And I'll never forget a day in 1990. I saw myself on the cover of TV Guide's best and worst dressed list. And I remember thinking at first, oh, look, there I am on the cover. And then I read the headline that Mr. Blackwell, the tastemaker of the time, called me bumpy, lumpy, and downright dumpy.
She's been found out for doing something she shouldn't have been doing. But then we have to ask why she did what she did.
Well, I think we know why she done what she did. It's generally speaking, or at least it wasn't in the past, something that was revered or welcomed in society. Being fat, you was always picked on, looked at, and judged. So for me, the question is it acceptable to shame a fat person? And if so, how should it be done? Because the issue is, fatness, however you want to put it, is unhealthy. Now, in a functional society, you want to make sure that everyone has maximal health. You want to make sure that all people who are functioning in that society have a role to play, and they can have a long and thriving life and enjoy it with their family. Can you attain that if you're obese?
I think health is a whole package. So you got to include mental health in that. And fat shaming someone can do irreparable damage to someone's mental health. So I don't think fat shaming is an acceptable thing. That shouldn't happen. You can educate people. You can try and guide people in the right direction. You can give them the information they might need, and you can give them advice. But shaming, I struggle with that word. Why would you want to shame anyone in life? Why?
Here's the thing. Obesity levels have increased since 1975 from 10% per adult population to above 30%. So there's obviously an epidemic of some sort. It's a first world problem. We have the availability of food and snacks whenever we want them. Now, how do you combat that?
Education.
It's not working.
Well, fat shaming's probably been on the increase as well over the past however many years. That's obviously not working.
I'm not
either.
sure that. I mean, you probably know better than I do. But with the advent of artists such as Lizzo celebrating their fatness, the trend of fat is sexy, I'm not convinced that fat shaming is on the rise. I feel like it's becoming more accepted as a way of living. Happen? It's not necessarily what I would like to see. It's not really. I don't have any dog in the race because I'm not fat.
I'm not normalising. I'm not saying that being, for example, Lizzo over body positivity and plus size, it's okay. I'm not saying. I'm not trying to promote that, because common sense says if you're overweight, that's unhealthy, right? So I'm not trying to promote that. Just because you're overweight and you're body proud, you're actually, this is me. Accept me for who I am. That doesn't mean you shouldn't try to be a healthier person or make healthier choices.
Well, let me stop you there, because how can you, on the one hand, accept who you are, and then on the other hand, strive to be something better, or strive to be something better and accept who you are at the same time? You
shouldn't feel shame or humility over who you are, but you can always want to be a better person. Always, whether that be in your head, the way you act, or how you look.
Let me flip it then. If we don't criticize those people who are morbidly obese and we champion it, how do those individuals ever discover or ever get the impetus to improve their bodily health?
Do you mean championing it as a whole or just individuals?
What, obesity?
Yeah.
Either, both.
'Cause I don't think it's championed as a whole. I don't think we live in a society where the majority of people think, oh, do you know what? You go, girl. Or like, you're obese, that's fine. You're okay with it? Cool. Then so are we. I don't think that's...
Isn't that Lizzo's whole message?
I don't know. I don't know what her thing is.
Okay.
But it wouldn't surprise me if at some point in the future, she lost some weight.
How would you go about controlling obesity if you was to find it to be getting out of control? What tools you would reach for?
As an individual, as a society.
What would you advocate society uses?
What would I advocate society does? I definitely think shaming's not the answer, but I don't know if I have the answers.
When does criticizing someone or making someone aware of an issue they can't possibly see, when does that become shame for you?
If you're insulting, if you're choosing to use words, if you're calling them out in a public forum, if you're choosing to use words which are degrading, dehumanizing, if you're not trying to educate them in a way which the emphasis is on the education, not on the language that you're using. To me, shaming is like, if you're sitting there obese and I'm like, oh look, do you know what? I'm really concerned. I feel like, have you spoken to someone? Do you know you're overweight? If so, how much overweight are you? You know there's potential like health risks involved in that. Like if you want, we can go through some stuff and But that to me is educating or trying to educate or trying to help. But I say you look disgusting.
Right.
That is fat shaming.
Okay.
You are fat.
Okay.
You're going to break my chair. That's fat shaming to me. And if I had a choice to choose one of those two,
bro.
It's your chair. But if I could choose to go down one of those routes, I know which route I'm taking.
I get you.
Yeah.
Which out of those two routes do you think has a more profound impact on someone's enthusiasm to do something about their issue?
I don't know. I think that depends on the person. I think there's some people out there would get that talking to them in the fat shamer way that I just described. They could go on to do something serious to hurt themselves because you have upset them so much.
Yeah,
like that can break someone if you speak to someone like that.
Mm-hmm.
There's other people I could speak to using the educational route, where just go in one ear and out the other, or they could cling on to that and be like, oh, actually, yeah, do you know what? Let's see what we can do. Like, I just think attacking someone is not the right way to do it. Helping someone,
so
I'm all for it.
Okay, let's put that to one side. Is there any situation where you think using the tool of shaming people is of benefit to society? So, for example, a paedophile.
No, why shame them? Punish. If they're found guilty of something, then
Or a rapist.
apply. If they're found guilty, apply the official. Like, why?
Shame.
Why shame someone? The punishment is the punishment. There's a judicial system in place which says if you do this and you are found guilty, this is your sentence. Doesn't then say, oh, and in addition to that, we're going to do this just because we can. Like the judge starts calling him names and stuff. No, do the crime, do the time. That's what the system's there for. I don't think there's any way. I don't think shaming is a positive thing in any way.
I disagree personally.
Tell me why you disagree.
I think shaming is a good tool, not necessarily for obese people, but for people who are acting in dissonance with cultural norms and etiquette.
Let me ask you a question. Is there any situation where you think it's absolutely fine for your daughter to be shamed?
Yes.
There is?
Yeah.
What situation would that be?
If she does something that I deem to be morally inappropriate.
So you're choosing to shame her over educate her?
I think you can use both. I think that there's degrees of things, isn't there? So
what's your definition of shame? Because I know I asked you earlier, but I'm struggling with this.
So shame is to make someone feel bad for their actions or way of being in a particular instance. That's how I
make someone feel bad.
Yes.
You would want to purposely make your daughter feel bad.
Yeah, well, this
you
is
wouldn't
the thing.
want her to understand why she may have done something that was wrong.
Absolutely, but they're not mutually exclusive.
But could they be separated?
How do you mean?
Could you educate her and get her to understand why she may have done something wrong and why she shouldn't do something again
I'm not
without
against
shaming
that.
her?
I don't know. You're saying, is there a situation? So what I'm saying is, I would be open if the education isn't working. If I sat down with my daughter and said, look, the reason we don't behave like this is da-da-da-da-da. And if she still wasn't getting it, perhaps I would look at the shaming. When people act out of turn, that has to be rectified. My duty as a parent is to ensure that my daughter integrates into society and is accepted by her peers. Now, if she's acting out of turn and I'm trying all the methods to intellectually teach her and steer her down a better path, and they're not working, then I can see that shame might be a tactic that I would use.
I'm not a father, but I can't. I mean, I wouldn't. I just can't see. I'm trying to think of a situation where I would be okay in shaming someone. Like,
for example,
I just feel it makes you not a good person.
It's not about good or bad. It's about getting results. Shame. This is how I look at it.
No,
if you're there
you can
doing
get results and still be a bad person getting those results. You could do something bad to get results.
No, but what I'm saying is, it's okay. So it's like it's the lesser two evils. Okay, so you might have to do something that isn't really the way you'd like to approach that said situation. But in order to get the result that is best for that person, or what you deem to be best for that person, you might have to do something you're uncomfortable with. If you're out there to shame someone for the sake of it, that's bullying. That's being unnecessarily cruel. But I do think it's a mechanism, personally. I think shame is a societal mechanism that ensures that as a whole, individuals stick to the cultural norms that have led to the survival of our species and to the structural integrity of our culture. and civilization. So if we just let people go out, so rapists are shamed. That's obviously not good for our culture. Thieves
How
are
are
shamed.
they shamed? This, I think I'm still not getting.
You don't understand that
I'm
rapists.
still
so
struggling.
if okay, so
Rapists are
here's an
punished for their crimes.
an easier one.
Go on.
Just to call someone a paedophile, it has negative connotations because of how we or the emotions we imbue into that word. Oh, he's a paedophile. That's shaming just by saying it like that. You dirty paedophile. That is shaming in and of itself because
That's like, are you talking as if you're talking to a paedophile?
or about.
Or just to a random person, calling a random person a dirty paedophile? That's not shaming, that's insulting, isn't it?
What, calling a rat? What, as if
Using
it wasn't
as
a
an
matter of
insult.
fact?
Using it as an insult, as opposed to a matter of fact.
If it's not factual, then yeah. That's just.
So what benefit is there if you're saying, "Oh, you dirty paedophile" to a paedophile?
Okay, so it sends a message within society. It sends a message that this is not an acceptable behaviour.
Right.
And so anyone who is a paedophile may think twice before they become a paedoist.
Because you said you dirty paedophile.
No, you're taking one. I'll give you an example.
Yeah. No, do you understand how my thing is that I'm struggling with, and we need to take it back to the whole fat shaming side of things. I think you used a word before, unnecessarily cruel. That's what I think shaming is. It's being unnecessarily cruel. I think you can get your message across, you can try and educate, you can try and help, you can warn of dangers, but to be unnecessarily cruel, I don't know why a human would choose to do that.
I didn't say it was unnecessarily cruel. I said if it doesn't have a goal.
Yes.
It's unnecessarily cruel.
But I'm picking up on those words. I think that's what I view shaming.
It's not
as.
unnecessary though, is it? If it has a goal.
But if there's
By
alternative
definition.
methods.
No, but it still means that
If
how
there's
you're
alternative
describing
methods,
it.
you're choosing that method. That's me personally.
Yeah.
I believe that's being unnecessarily cruel. If there is an alternative to shaming someone, to try and educate someone, and to try and get your message across, why not choose that? If you're choosing to go down the shaming,
And
I believe that's unnecessarily
I've said to
cruel.
you, that's fine.
Yeah.
I said that's absolutely fine. If you can reach someone through the philosophical method or the intellectual path, I'm down.
Yeah.
But sometimes it doesn't always work like that, does it? And sometimes people are more in their feels than they are in their reason and rationale. And so someone might not empathize with humanity as a whole, but they are narcissistic enough to care about how others view them. And so to control those types of individuals, shame can be a tool, for sure.
Okay, so the definition online, this is from Medical News Today, it says fat shaming is the act of making a person feel ashamed, inferior, anxious or guilty about their body shape or size. Afterwards, it's got another bit that says it does not motivate people to lose weight. In fact, it causes significant harm. There is no evidence that shaming people for their weight has any positive effects. We'll ignore that bit for now because that's probably subjective. That's from the Medical News Today. But the first part, this is the bit I'm concentrating on. This is probably what I thought it meant. It's the act of making a person feel ashamed, inferior, anxious or guilty about their body shape. I'm not sure any of those are positive things. I'm not sure like how... I feel like that, and I'm just guessing, I have no facts to back this up, but this is just my opinion. I feel like fat shaming is probably going to have more of a negative effect on someone who is overweight or obese than a positive effect.
Okay, let me ask you this. Do you think, given Oprah Winfrey's situation where she was attacked for her weight, do you think in the absence of that, she would have lost weight? And also, do you think the fact that she lost weight was an overall net benefit for her?
I don't think we'll ever know as to whether or not she would have chosen to lose weight with the absence of
Let
that.
me ask you a
I don't
different
know that
question.
for a fact.
Do you think it would have been a contributing factor?
So I think what?
The fact that she was being, let's say, insulted continuously for her weight. Do you think that
it's
would have
probably done
contributed to
irreparable
her?
mental damage.
That's not my question.
No, I'm
Yeah.
answering a question. I think it's probably done irreparable mental caused mental damage to her, and she has probably used that in. I mean, who knows? She was probably. We don't know whether she was already on a weight loss journey or wanted to go down that route or not.
She was putting weight on.
Oprah.
Yeah.
Putting weight on.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and she took weight loss tablets to bring her weight down. She cited that newspaper article.
That's right. Yeah.
That magazine article.
Yeah.
Did that article contribute? I'm not sure. I think she has also been called out for going down the victim route and trying to put her reasons for using the weight loss tablets on certain things and been accused of falsifying that and coming out with crocodile tears and all of this because she got caught taking weight loss pills. Because she was the face of, is it Slimming World or Weight Watchers? Is that right?
Weight Watchers. But you still haven't answered my question.
Do I think it contributed?
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you. Unless I was there, I couldn't tell you.
I'm not asking for you to know definitively.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, as a rational person, do you think, given the understanding of the human psyche, that people pointing out that she was obese would have contributed to her enthusiasm to want to shed that weight?
I want to say the normal, the sensible part of me wants to say yes, but there's so many other factors here.
I'm not saying it's the sole contributing factor.
Do I think it contributed? Possibly. How much? I don't know.
Right. See, I would surmise that it would have contributed, and there, in that fact, if we are to accept it as a fact, lies the utility of shame. That's my point.
Do you think Oprah could have lost weight without being shamed?
Possibly.
What do you think's... Okay, let me ask you this question. What do you think's more likely? A person can lose weight after being fat shamed, or a person can lose weight through being educated?
I think it depends on the individual. Honestly, I think that because
I agree.
Yeah.
Well, I don't agree actually. I think there's so many different types of people out there that I think a negative. I think kill people with kindness. I think the love, support, guidance, education route is better than the making someone feel ashamed, inferior, anxious, or guilty route. But personally, that's just what I think. I think it does depend on the person. I think as a general blanket rule, if I had to make a choice as to what I'm going to do, it's I'm not choosing to shame someone in any situation. But that's just how I am. I don't.
I agree. I'm not that type of individual to do that myself. I personally, I wouldn't opt for that as a go-to. And if I knew someone, like for example, I would shame you because you're my boy. If I think you're doing something out of turn, I've got no problem shaming you. And you should know. Hold up. You should know that that's coming from a place of love, not as a place of me trying to put you down, but trying to build you better.
Would you not try and have a conversation first?
Depends. Would you not? Because life isn't like that, is it, between you and I? There's banter there. Everything's not so formal and
banter. That's a difficult word, isn't it?
Well, banter, bullying, shame. It's all. I mean, you're guilty of it. You do it to James.
Of course, yeah.
Right. So you do shame people, in fact.
Well, I banter people. I take the mickey out of people.
Right. So this is shame.
Right. So this, when I asked you for your definition of shame, it wasn't that before.
What was my definition? When I'm looking at
this, it's.
That's a specific thing, right?
This is fat shaming.
Yeah, we're talking about fat shaming specifically there, but shame is overall, right? So we have a friend that's still who's our age and still lives with his parents. We shame him.
No, we joke with him about.
I mean, that's semantics. That's shaming.
So fat joking, fat shaming.
Yeah.
No. We joke about it because a fat joke. If someone's overweight, I wouldn't joke about their weight. There's certain things which I think
are taboo. So that's what I'm saying. So you're okay to shame certain things. There's certain
things which cross the line. So if I'm talking about someone that still lives with their parents, like that's not really going to have the same effect as if I was talking to someone that's overweight and talking about their physical
How do you
appearance. Like, I'm quite confident in saying
Your
that.
confidence doesn't bear no truth on what's fact or fiction. Confidence has nothing to do with fact or fiction. You can be confident as much as you like. It doesn't change what's fact.
Wait, hold on. So you say, how do I know? Okay, I'm going to say I know. I'll ask him, and then I'll ask an overweight person if they'll get offended if I call them fat. Mm-hmm. And then we can see. And then the answer, I'm guessing.
Okay, let me ask you this then. Have you ever joked, shamed, criticised someone and you thought it was a joke and they got offended?
Yes.
Okay, so that's my point. It's blurred lines, isn't it? It's blurred lines. So sometimes this whole idea of shaming people because certain people aren't fitting the narrative of how you think they should live their lives, sometimes you stray into the boundaries,
or
don't
how
you?
they say they are living their lives.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Have I ever joked about someone's weight?
Yeah, so for you,
I don't think so.
You have your own distinct categories of what's acceptable and what's not.
Yeah, fat shame's not acceptable.
Yeah, so that's you. I don't think it should be a go-to. I think you should try, like you said, try and take the approach of loving kindness and trying to help them that way. Having said that, if that doesn't work,
take the mick out.
Well, I don't know. I don't know what the...
Tell them about themselves.
Not me personally. That's not my way. But I think as a society, I can understand it. That society does it as a whole. I can understand why shaming exists. So you've got guilt, which is the internal feeling of not being happy with what you've done or how you're living. And shame is the exterior pressure on what you've done or how you're living.
I think shaming does more for the person that's doing it than the person that's on the receiving. I think it says a lot about the person that's doing it.
Maybe than the person you're probably right.
Maybe they have something they want to get out, or they're in a space where they feel all of a sudden they're saying stuff with chest, like, they're like, oh, well, I can get away with saying this. I can be nasty. Like, I can do this. And I don't know. Maybe it says more about the person that does that than the person that receives it on the receiving end.
All right, Baldy, what you got to bring to the table?
Okay, right. I mean, we've touched on some of it already. I think our personalities are coming out. We're two very different people. But the video I got is, well, let's just watch it. Let's just get into it.
Granddaughter across the face.
I smacked my granddaughter across the goddamn face because she was swearing in public and mouthing off to her grandmother. Post it.
Okay, right. So this is a video of a grandfather in the supermarket who seemed pretty agitated, pretty irate, pretty angry. And he'd just been caught slapping his granddaughter across the face because she was swearing in public or cussing out in public, his words were, and mouthing off at her grandma. Is it okay for grandparents to hit their grandchildren?
Why are you looking at me, bro? I'm not even a granddad
Granddaddy,
yet.
talk to me. Well, okay, go on.
Well, nip it in the bud. No, it's not okay. It's not okay. I mean, even if you have a look at his mannerisms, the guy seems belligerent, doesn't he? He seems like he has anger.
That's what worries me
issues.
the most. Like, and he said it across the face.
Damn.
I mean, we need more context. We don't know how old his child was.
I don't know.
Is there ever an okay age to be slapped across the face by that angry man?
By any angry man.
By any angry man.
By any man.
Yeah.
No, corporal punishment is not acceptable.
Okay.
In my book. I can understand that it's an archaic form of punishment, and his generation, I'm guessing, what is he, in his 70s, possibly 80s, he would have been brought up like that. That would have been how he would have been kept in line.
Yeah.
So he's from a different generation, so I can understand it. Now, the fact that I understand it doesn't mean I think it's acceptable. What's definitely not acceptable, or in addition is not acceptable, is how he feels comfortable approaching someone else who seemingly is a stranger to him with that type of energy.
So the reason I chose that video is it randomly came up on my Instagram feed, and I commented, oh, okay, so I can't remember the exact words. I've been desperately trying to find a post, but it's just one of those things, disappeared forever. oh, okay, so we're saying it's okay to abuse your grandchildren. And then, bruv, the notifications didn't stop. Didn't stop. And the majority of the people were American people, so it must have been an American page or something. The notifications kept coming through. Ping, 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 ping. People replying to my comment. The majority, the consensus was, you're a simp. Like, you need to discipline your child. You were brought... whatever that means.
Is that the
The
right
young kids use
terminology?
it. The young, I don't know what.
Simp is someone who sucks up to, like a man who sucks up to women to
Well,
get.
pussy. That's another word they use.
Okay.
I got called a pussy as well. What else did I get called? Someone said, "See, you needed a slap growing up." Like people were going in, bro. People going in. Like, of course, like it was a whooping. You deserve a whooping, or that child deserved a whooping. Ever cuss out? Watch them do that to my family. Watch them do that to me. They'll get a whooping. I'll take my belt off. Like it went on, bruv. It just kept on going, and I was just shocked. I was like, okay, so this is like a normal thing.
This is a.
And then people are like, that's not abuse. It's abuse. It's abuse. Laying your hands on someone's abuse. Like,
Yeah.
it's and not a nice form either. It's so it really got my back up that I honestly thought, like, don't get me wrong, there were lots of people that were like backing me up as well. Be like, absolutely not acceptable. Like, what is going on here? This is not right. But there was a lot more people saying they were okay with that situation than I thought there would be. And it really made me like, okay, is that what this is going on? So I was really interested to get your take on that.
Well, you'll be happy to hear that I'm siding with you on this one. I don't choose to discipline my children in that form, or my child, and I never will do. Having said that, early on in my fatherhood, I did smack Natiri's hand once. And I can tell you, the amount of guilt and pain I felt inside, I immediately knew that this was not a way that I wanted to proceed with my child. Now, everyone's different. However, having said that, I think you have to really take the time and conscientiously decide how you want to discipline your child, because you have to discipline children because they don't know how to behave, and your role is to ensure that by the time they're 5, they can slot in with their peers. Now, how do you do that when they're misbehaving? It's difficult. They'll bite sometimes, they'll kick, they'll have tantrums.
Shame them. That's what you do.
Exactly. So this is one of the tools I have in my toolbox.
Good.
The first thing you want to do with your child, I believe, if you don't want to go down the corporal punishment route, which is to spank them and slap them and I would say abuse them physically, is to ensure that you know how to connect. So before you remonstrate your child, it's pointless because they're not receptive. You have to get them into a state of receptivity. Are they willing to hear what you have to say? Because if they're not, you're literally talking into one ear and out the other.
Losing battle.
That's
With the
it.
same words, they're not even hearing those words. Yeah.
Right. And not only that, you're getting angry yourself.
This is the thing, right? Like, when parents hitting their children, is it because they've got themselves so worked up and wound up and angry to the point where they've lost it? Like, is that part of it? And if that is part of it, that's fucking bad. Like, you shouldn't be hitting another person in anger, let alone this child. Like, your child. Or anyone's child. Or your grandchild. You shouldn't be doing it. Yeah.
Whenever you take a form of action in any walk of life, you want to know what your outcome goal is. What am I trying to achieve? Okay, so in this situation, I don't know the specifics, but I'm trying to ensure that my granddaughter behaves in a way that I feel is befitting of someone of my family. Apparently, that's what he's trying to get across. Okay, cool. So what are you teaching her by hitting her? You're teaching her that when there's some sort of conflict or disagreement, the go-to is aggressive force.
More to the point, when specifically she does something that the grandparent doesn't like, she's going to get hit.
Exactly.
Like, what kind of relationship they're going to have? Also, if he like parented his daughter like that and brought her up, and then her daughter's now turned out like that, does his tactics work?
Work.
Like,
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
So this gets into the nuts and bolts of it, because you can get immediate compliance by asserting your physicality over someone who's smaller than you.
Mm-hmm.
He's a man. She's a woman. So already the force you can impose on her is on another level.
Yeah.
Not to mention she's a child apparently as well. So, okay, you can get immediate compliance, but what's the consequences of approaching discipline that way? Well, instead of having discipline through love, you have discipline through violence.
Fear.
And fear.
Yeah.
My parenting technique is one that, okay, I would rather take the time. It takes effort.
Right.
If I lose my temper, I will take myself out of that situation and I'll come back to my daughter and I'll say, okay, you didn't act how I expect you to behave, how I expect you to act, and this is why. In the future, I want you to behave like this. If you do not behave like this, this is the consequence. There's plenty of things I can say to my daughter that I can revoke from her.
Yeah. iPad. Number one, iPad.
iPad, drama class.
Yeah.
I'll take away your colours.
Not the colours.
Yeah, take away you can do any. I mean, the iPad is the one, right?
Yeah,
anything is anything like that.
Can I just pause for a second? There's going to be people screaming at their screens, whatever you're watching this on. There's people screaming right now. Like, sometimes we just haven't got the time to do that.
Yeah.
You're in the moment. You haven't got the time to sit them down quietly and wait for the right moment. And do you know what I mean? Like, there's single. I'm not saying this just, but there's single parents out there that might have 5 kids around them, all misbehaving. Like. The way you speak is like
hold up.
An ideal world.
Hold up. Firstly, if you've got 5 children around you, that is something that you should have gone into with an understanding. If you got yourself into a situation where you've got 5 children and they're all misbehaving,
we're not going to comment on how they got into that situation or whether they chose to be in that situation or not.
No, but you brought up a situation which was very illustrative, let's say, of a situation that you could be in that it's very difficult to discipline all 5 children at once. Of course it is.
No, it could just be that there's 5 of them running around causing havoc and one needs disciplining and you're trying to get your dinner ready and you didn't get paid on time this month, so now you're stressing about bills. And do you know what I mean? Life catches up with people. There's a lot going on and there's people right now that are screaming at the screen just going, we haven't got time. We haven't got time to be as...
Right. So here's the thing though. This is what I'm trying to get to. If you haven't got time to invest in your child, don't have one. It's as simple as that. And that might be really harsh for someone to hear. But at the end of the day, the most valuable thing you can ever put your resources into in your whole life is your child.
I agree with that.
Okay, so if you don't foresee that you have the ability to have 1 child and give your time, 2 child and give your time, 3 children and have your time, then don't do it.
That's quite harsh because there's some people that have not had a child before and they don't know what's going to hit them. Like, they might go into it with the greatest...
Yeah, but hold up. You said 5.
I'm saying 5, yeah.
You know what you're getting into.
No, but you said you shouldn't... after, if you don't know
after
number 3 or 4, then... Yeah. No, there's people that might only have 1 child and had all the best intentions and then realise only once they're in that situation they didn't have the tools to cope. Or it's a learning thing. You learn it as you go, right?
You do.
Or your partner isn't as supportive as what you need them to be in order to be able to make it work. Or,
exactly.
There's so many different ways.
All those things don't equate to, okay, so it's okay to hit them.
No, it doesn't. I'm not trying to excuse it. I'm saying that there will be people that are looking, thinking, you're talking like an ideal situation. But I can tell you now, people, right? This is how he parents. It is ideal. Like, the way he does it, I love it. When I'm going to be a dad, that's how I'm going to go. And if I'm not, then shame me. Hit me. So you touched on the point that I was going to ask, following on from, is it okay for a grandparent to hit a child? I was going to then say, do you agree with hitting? Were you hit when you were a child? Did you know your grandparents? No, you didn't. Okay, so my grandparents were abroad as well. My mum used to hit me before my parents separated. My mum used to hit me. My dad never laid a finger. And I am of that that way of thinking of, I would never hit my children. My dad just had to look at me in a certain way. And that was enough, right? But I accept, at the moment, I'm saying that from a situation where I haven't got children, but I believe that I won't hit children. I believe that's not for me. In a situation where a parent is okay with hitting their children and they feel that's the okay way to discipline their child, is it okay for their parent? Is it in that situation, is it okay for the grandparent to discipline the child physically?
Are you asking me?
I mean, it's
Because
difficult, right?
I'm already at no. I'm at you need to re-educate yourself on how to effectively discipline your children. But I understand there's a tipping point, because you can get to a certain... This needs to start from as soon as they're born.
Yeah.
You can't allow them to do specific or to show specific traits and behavioural traits, that is unacceptable. You need to nip it in the bud as soon as possible. If you allow these things to be accepted, the child learns, okay, it's okay to scream and to have a tantrum and I get my way. Basic, simple things like, for example, if I say to my daughter, I say, okay, honey, look, I'll give you a prime example. Nateri had a rule where she used to listen to bedtime stories on her iPad before she went to bed. And she knew explicitly she was not to go on her iPad. One day I caught her on her iPad after she'd been put in bed. And I said to her, do this again and you'll lose your iPad forever.
What did you say, sorry?
You'll lose your iPad at night times. You will no longer have it. Okay. I caught her again and she no longer has her iPad at night time. Now, what have I taught there? I've taught her that when I say something, I mean it.
Yeah.
There's no negotiation after that point. I've said X, and X is what I meant. And that now gives me the power to say, Nateri, do this, and this will happen. And she knows. Now,
all of that would be completely different if the next time you just gave it back to her. And be like, actually, it's nighttime, go then.
Exactly that.
Sometimes people do that for an easy life, don't they? Like to stop screaming.
It's not an easy life. That's the point.
No. In the long term, it's gonna.
That's the point.
Gonna undo all the hard work you may have done. Because that must have been difficult for you to take something away that you knew she liked.
Of course, it's horrible.
Yeah. But you're doing it for a reason.
Yeah.
And the payback, long-term goal payback, is that now she'll listen to you, right? And you don't have to hear her.
There's another one, yeah.
Yeah.
Because you want to command the respect from your children.
Of course.
That should be... So the bond that you have with your child should be one of love. And I want Nateri to get to an age where no matter how old she is, she can come to me with a problem and she knows I have her best interests at heart. And I'm not going to lose my rag. I'm not going to blow my lid. I'm going to try and sit down and come to a solution with whatever problem she has. Even if she's done something wrong, it will be a conversation. It's never, with me and Nateri, it's never a conversation above this, even when she's done something wrong.
Did you get hit as a child?
Yeah.
What was your worst beating? Do you remember? Was it a beating? Can you use that word? That sounds really bad, doesn't it?
There's a belt on the back of the leg. Is it?
A belt on the back of the leg. Did she take it off? Yeah. Did she? What? So you knew it was coming? You could see the belt coming off?
Rough.
Oh!
Rough.
Was it a bare leg?
Yeah.
Jeez, summertime.
That made me... I don't
Do you remember what you did?
I don't. And that's the thing with trauma, isn't it?
Yeah, it's mad.
Like, so... And I don't say trauma as if everyone should feel sorry for me.
No.
I'm cool with it.
It's a valid...
I'm completely cool with it.
Yeah.
And I don't blame my mother either, so I don't want anyone to get the wrong idea. But you don't remember those things. What you remember is the overall feeling and fear.
Right, so this is a perfect example of you haven't learned a lesson there. You've just learned, you haven't remembered what the lesson is there. No. You just remembered.
I probably lied, to be honest.
Right. So my one, there's two in particular I remember. This is before my parents split up. Like I said, my mum was young and hit me if there was ever going to be that sort of thing. And she was combing her hair. I can't remember I cannot remember. Again, I don't know what I did. Probably nothing. I'm an angel, right? So I was young now. So it was primary school. I would have been under the age of 6. And like she turned around and just tried to swipe at me with a comb. And I was like, I remember I was in shorts, and I was like, I dodged it. And she was like angry. She was angry that I dodged it.
Yeah.
She went for me again. I was so quick, bruv. I was quick. I was rapid.
Yeah.
She was on the sofa. I jumped up. I'm here. She's like this. Like, I jumped to that side. She's like this. She kept missing me, bruv. I was laughing because she kept missing me.
Yeah.
Then she got me, bro. I was like up there somewhere. She was here. She turned with a comb, just all the way down my leg. Like I didn't draw blood or nothing, but got me.
It hurts there on the shin, doesn't it?
The pain. I was like, oh, that hurt. And that's why I shaved my head and never had to use a comb in my life ever again. That's not the reason.
I was going to say.
The second time was she was cooking dinner, wooden spoon. I don't know what I did. Like,
she hit you with food on a spoon.
Hit me with food on the spoon, bruv. About infect my food as well. Like, I don't think I even got food. But yeah, she chased me around the kitchen, got me with a wooden spoon.
That generation's different. That generation is completely different.
That happened now.
Yeah.
In public, and it was public knowledge. I reckon there'd be all hell to pay, right? Possibly, I don't know, because it's not illegal to hit your child.
I think it's situational.
Yeah.
It's geographically relevant in some places and not in other places. Like so, I've never been, but I'm pretty sure in certain places in America, completely fine. Strict Christians, they advocate because it says in the Bible, you know, to discipline your children with the rod, for example.
With the rod,
you know.
Wow.
So it's a antiquated method of disciplining children that we have thankfully learnt over the generations that is ineffective because another thing that comes with chronic corporal punishment is that it tends to breed aggressive characters. It also teaches them that the way to resolve conflict is with violence.
Right.
I want to teach the future generations to have a conversation before we get to violence. Look at the world what we're in now. All the wars that are going on. It's not just Ukraine, you know I had to say that. It's not just...
We need like a little buzzer or something. Every time you say Ukraine,
it's not just Gaza. It's not just Niger. It's honestly the amount of wars that are going on currently. Obscene. That's because we haven't learned as a species yet to resolve our conflicts through diplomacy. And so that starts with parents in the home teaching their children how to talk and communicate when they have disagreements.
Do you think it's that simple?
No.
Do you think
it's easier said than done, of course?
Yeah,
of course.
I would love to think that if we all was that way inclined, that it could eventually lead to no wars. I'd love to think that. That'd be amazing.
Well, that has to be the goal.
Yeah.
Is it not the goal?
What, no wars?
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, so we know the goal.
Yeah, we know the goal.
Cool.
We just don't know how to get there.
Right. But
I'm willing to try anything.
The first thing we have to do is agree on the goal.
Yeah.
Well, we could shame. So this is a perfect example. For example,
give me an example.
The non-nuclear proliferation treaty, Iraq, for example, and Iran. As Western countries, we shame them for trying to have a nuclear war program. We shame them. That's a method. This is what I'm trying to say.
How do we shame them?
Okay, so let me put a different way.
I'm aware because I don't.
Yeah. So
you're
shame.
Like, you're smelly because you got nuclear bombs or whatever. Yeah.
You have a particular definition of shame. This is what I'd say to you. Shame is to criticize, to throw criticism at someone or something that you don't agree with.
I see that. So that's where we're getting.
Yeah, it always is the case.
That's where we're getting caught up because I don't see that. So criticising, I think, is absolutely fine.
You don't know.
Insulting is different.
Yeah.
No. Constructive criticism, which would be what I would say would be education. If there's something that you can see might be an issue, whether you can say, well, look, going back to our friend, you still live at home. Could you not do this or do this? Have you thought about doing this? That's constructive criticism. It's you're a mug.
But here's the thing. with criticism, oftentimes it falls on deaf ears. In those cases, it might appear to be unconstructive, your criticism, because you have to do it in such a way that the noise is loud enough that it resonates with that individual. So it's an amplification.
That depends on the individual, right?
Yeah. Of course, this is what I said from the jump.
Yeah. Do you think Putin or Putin?
Whichever.
Do you reckon he hits his kids?
Do I think he eats his kids?
Hits his kids.
I'll
I mean,
play.
he might.
I'll
We'll
play.
that's the next question.
Yeah.
Do you reckon he hits
How
his
do
kids?
I know, bro?
I feel like he's the type. Like,
Yeah, but this is what you two got nothing to go on.
no, I mean,
You've
Drop
literally
bombs.
got nothing.
invades countries. No,
Okay, so then Obama hits his children then.
possibly.
Right. So anyone who drops
Possibly.
bombs, I mean, that's your logical reasoning right there.
Yeah. That
He
is
drops
it. That's all
bombs,
I've got.
Therefore,
That's all
he
I've got.
beats his children.
My logical reason doesn't have to be logical to the average person.
Yeah,
as long as
that's
it
fine.
makes sense up here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Obama drops bombs, hits kids. It's like an album title right there.
Yeah. Drop bombs and hit
Drop bombs
kids.
and hit kids.
Coming soon to an iTunes near you. All right. Shall we wrap up?
Yeah, let's do this.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this has been the R&B podcast. We hope you had fun. We'll be back next week with something new. Peace. We out.